The city of Dayton, Ohio joins a growing number of localities that have banned source of income discrimination, or other words, they've banned landlords from refusing to rent to Section 8 tenants. I'm Tony, and this is Real Estate Investing and Landlord News. All right, so I have another Section 8 video for you today, and once again, it's another locality that has decided, hey, we're going to try to force landlords to take these Section 8 tenants, okay? No matter what the landlord says, they should have to take it. Now, the reason that landlords are refusing Section 8 tenants has nothing to do with not liking people because of they're poor or not wanting to deal with certain groups of people, right? That is a lie. That is a complete garbage argument, and I'm here to prove that fact right now. The real reason is that we don't want to have to deal with bureaucracy. Okay, if they fix the problems with the Section 8 system, maybe more landlords want to participate in it. It's supposed to be a voluntary program. The federal government said that, hey, Section 8 is supposed to be voluntary, but now we got all these cities, all these states that are coming in there and saying, no, landlords should have to take these tenants. And you know what? It's just not going to work. Okay, it's not going to work because these housing authorities themselves, they are so bureaucratic, they're so awful that nobody wants to deal with them. Okay, they created their own problem and now they're mad that landlords don't want to participate. Well, guess what? This is what happens when you have politicians and bureaucrats in charge of ridiculous programs like this. So before I get into the article, go ahead, hit the like and subscribe button, maybe leave a comment down below and let me know what you think. Do you believe more cities and more municipalities across the country are going to start passing these, income discrimination laws that basically ban landlords from refusing to rent to Section 8 tenants? I do, okay? We might see a national law eventually. You know, the federal government, depending on who is in the White House, they could come up and just say, hey, you know what? Everyone across the country, all landlords have to take these tenants. Well, you know what? I don't see that happening just yet, but we've seen other unconstitutional laws trying to be put in place by the President of the United States that had to be thrown out by the Supreme Court. And yes, I'm speaking specifically about the eviction moratoriums. So, it wouldn't surprise me if something like this also occurred. Anyway, let's get into this article. I'm curious to see what it says, for the city of Dayton, Ohio. This article is coming from DaytonDailyNews.com, and it says, Dayton approves source of income protections. Landlords rip the Section 8 program. Let's get into it. New legislation approved this week by the city of Dayton prohibits landlords and property owners from refusing to rent or lease housing to prospective tenants based on how they pay for the housing units. Supporters say this will help people who unfairly face discrimination because they receive Section 8 housing vouchers, child support, alimony, or disability, Social Security, or veterans benefits. They're like, okay, source of income or how they pay for it is banned, right? Well, let me ask you something. If the tenant uses stolen money, like they rob the bank, and then they try to pay rent with that, can the landlord has to take it, I guess, right? Landlord cannot refuse that payment. Or, oh yeah, the tenant was working as a lady of the night, and she was using that money in order to pay her rent. So the landlord has to take. You know what? If a tenant is doing something criminal, the landlord shouldn't be forced to take that money, okay? Or if the landlord doesn't agree, to participate in this program, the landlord shouldn't be forced to take that money either. I don't think that it's a good idea to start saying, hey, we're going to dictate how landlords operate their businesses. And if a landlord decides, I don't want to be receiving government payments, well, guess what? That should be left up to them. 86% of voucher recipients in Montgomery County are Black, and the majority are single moms with kids, said Emma Smales, a small business owner who recently was the birth outcomes manager for public health, Dayton and Montgomery County. Housing choice vouchers often are used as a proxy to discriminate against women with children and renters of color. This ordinance will put a stop to that. That's garbage. That's complete garbage, okay? You know what? The landlords are not saying at any point that they don't want to rent to women with children or people of color. Okay, not at any point. If you don't have a voucher and you have a good rental history, you meet all the qualifications that are set out in my lease, then guess what? Maybe I'll rent to you. Maybe. Okay, we're looking for the best qualified tenants no matter what. When it comes to being a landlord, the thing that we care the most about is making money, okay? And not having to jump through 1,000 hoops, not having to deal with a whole ton of government bureaucracy. And that's why a lot of landlords just don't want to participate in the program. It has nothing to do with the tenants themselves. And they're not trying to say, hey, we don't want to rent to single moms. No, they're saying, hey, we don't want to rent to a single mom who the only way that she can pay rent is me, having to deal with the housing authority, and the housing authority treats me like garbage. Okay, that's what we're saying. But some housing providers, including multiple self described mom and pop landlords, say the new source of income rules will do a lot more harm than good, and they fear they will be forced to participate in the Section 8 housing program, which they claim is riddled with red tape and other problems. If this legislation passes, you're going to put a red line around the city of Dayton, and you're going to send a message to every investor outside of the city that the city of Dayton is closed for business. And if you come here, it's a high risk environment, said Greg Blatt, president of Dayton Realtors. We fix this problem by having meaningful conversations about how to incentivize people to bring their capital here. And he brings up a good point, okay? Now, I'm not saying that all landlords are going to stop investing in the city of Dayton, but there's going to be a lot of landlords who say, hey, you know what? There's all these little small other cities surrounding Dayton. There's other counties nearby. There's other cities in the state of Ohio where they do not require landlords to participate in the Section 8 program, right? And if I was investing in Ohio, I'd be looking at those other cities much more closely than I would the city of Dayton. And you know what? That's up to those landlords to decide whether they want to invest in a place where they have rules and regulations that you don't agree with. And I've already said, go where you're treated the best. Go where you have the most property rights. Don't go to a place where they treat landlords as though we are somehow an extension of the social welfare system, okay? We are for-profit businesses just like the grocery store and the restaurant down the street, and we deserve to be able to make smart business decisions that will make us a healthy profit, okay? And dealing with all this government bureaucracy, I mean, just think of it like this, right? If you're a construction contractor and you're being forced to fill, a government contract when you don't want to, no, you can work for all private entities. You can work for just companies and individuals if you want. You don't have to do a government contract if you don't want to, if you're a construction contractor. So why is it any different for landlords? Because you know what? It makes no sense to me. Now, the best way to get more landlords to participate in the Section 8 program, in my opinion, is by saying, hey, we're going to incentivize landlords to participate by paying them extra on top of the regular monthly rent. That way, it benefits them to jump through all the extra, hoops and deal with the government and all of its ridiculous bureaucracy. So, like, if the rent is $1,000 a month, maybe you could pay a landlord a couple hundred extra bucks a month for all of their trouble and all of the work they have to put through in order to keep the property in the program and to keep those renters in their property. So yeah, I don't like this. I don't like it when they try to force, these Section 8 rules onto landlords who don't want to participate. But Dayton is far from the first to make this move. The city joins 21 states and 125 U.S. cities that have source of income protections, including 18 municipalities in Ohio, according to Deborah Levy, an attorney with Advocates for Basic Legal Equality, who cited data from the Poverty and Race Research Action Council. Dayton's new protections, importantly, will help people with Section 8 housing choice vouchers find housing because right now, far too often, they strike out, she said. Families often have to wait years to get Section 8 housing assistance, and when they finally obtain the vouchers, they have to use them quickly or lose them, Levy said. So here's my question. Did they ever think about the unintended consequences of trying to put this new regulation on there? Okay, so what is an unintended consequence? Right? Because they say, oh, well, now these people will be able to find housing. No, not necessarily. Now, they might not tell people that they are not accepting Section 8 vouchers, but they might find other reasons to reject these people without specifically ever mentioning the Section 8 program in their advertisements or, anywhere. Okay. They might never tell them. So these people might still have trouble finding housing. But another unintentional consequence is that small mom and pop landlords who maybe own one or two properties could get caught up in this nonsense and end up getting fined or sued or whatever, right? And those landlords are just going to get out of the business. They're going to be like, you know what? I'm not going to deal with this nonsense. I don't want to have Section 8 tenants in my property. I'm just selling to an owner occupant and I am done. Okay. So there's going to be less rental housing available because of all these new rules and regulations. That's an unintended consequence. And that means it's going to be even harder for these Section 8 tenants to find places to rent. So they're not necessarily going to find anywhere extra anyway, because landlords are going to find new reasons to reject them. And you're going to scare away a lot of landlords who were previously offering their homes up for rentals because they don't want to have to deal with the regulations. So, yeah, these are unintended consequences. And you're going to see the remaining properties, the rents are going to increase because they know, hey, I'm going to have to cover all these additional costs. And guess what? I'm going to have to raise my rents to compensate me just in case something bad happens. All right. So, yeah, whew, man, I am 100% opposed to forcing landlords to do this program when they don't want to have to deal with it.